Hey guys, welcome to my week of workouts. If you have a full-time job and think you don't have time to work out, or you can't dedicate as much time as those influencers you see online, well, I'm here to tell you that you don't need 2 hours. You just need a good 1 hour or lock in for 45 minutes. If you want more clarity on how to schedule your workouts, this is a demo of what my workouts typically look like during the week. Recently, I've come across a theory that I want to test out. You don't need to do 3 or 4 sets of 5 exercises every day in order to see results. You can just be locking in for 2 sets, and as long as you give it all you've got. I like to start my week of workouts with upper body. Today, we're going to do a shoulder and chest workout. If I'm doing an upper body day, I make it a point to warm up my shoulders. I've learned some good tips which I'm showing you here from Simba. The first one is using a light weight and doing a bicep curl move, then raise your elbows and extending them to the side. This will train your scapula to stabilize it. When your scapula is not stabilized, you're prone to shoulder impingement and shoulder pain, which I had for a long time. And ever since I made it a point to stabilize and warm up my scapula, I've rarely had, well, knock on wood, any shoulder pains. First exercise is shoulder press. As you can see here, the bench is set up not exactly at 90 degrees, which is to protect the scapula. When you're pressing, make sure you have an angle and your elbow is not extended fully out. This also protects your shoulders. Make sure to warm up with a weight you are comfortable with to nail the movement first, then increase the weight. Do not rush and do not ego lift. This is how you potentially could get hurt. Also, in the beginning, I was so confident. I was like, oh, I don't need warm up, I know the form. But when you're not paying attention, there's a risk. So do your warm ups. I've learned that regression is real. I used to be able to bench press a lot, and recently I found out it's starting to get challenging. There's a theory that if you don't train muscles as often, you will regress. Next is incline bench press. This trains the shoulders as well as the chest. You might already know that you cannot lift as heavy as a flat bench press, so here just reduce the weight. If you're wondering which weight to use, you want a weight you can comfortably press for 10 reps, where it starts to get challenging at around rep 6 or 7. And if any of you are wondering when to progress, because the most effective way to achieve hypertrophy, aka gaining muscle size, is progressive overload. Here I've attached a useful reference. You can see that if you can lift the weight for 12 reps, for example, for a given exercise, you're using about 67% of your 1 rep max, which is the maximum weight you can do for just 1 rep. For hypertrophy, you want to be working with around 80% of your 1 rep max and try to progress to 12 reps. Once you can hit 12 to 15 reps, you can add about 5% more weight and try to reach 10 reps first and 12 and then 15 reps. Next, we move on to lateral raise. Because today I was short on time, I'm doing a superset, meaning I do a lateral raise with arms out to the side and then bend my elbows and do another set of lateral raises. The burn is so real. After 2 sets of that, I moved down to training my rear delts, because yes, rear delts are part of your shoulders. They are the posterior part. You can do this move on a bench with a machine or a cable. I don't want to move around too much, so I just sit on my bench and do what you're seeing here. Since summer is coming, I'm wanting to do more cardio and get a real good sweat and detox. I'm jumping onto the farmer's carry machine that we have in the gym. Not a lot of gyms have this, but I'm really happy that they do. It's incline walking with weights that you can carry. I do 1-minute intervals where I carry the weights on both sides as much as I can, 45 seconds to a minute, and then I switch to pushing the incline walk, increasing the intensity, and trying to walk at that cadence for 1 minute. After 20 minutes, you should be drenched in sweat. Good cardio. Day 2 here, and it's my favorite, glutes day. I always make sure to warm up properly before my glute day because I'm always sitting at the desk. My hip flexors are very tight and my back hurts sometimes from sitting too long. So in order to activate my glutes and avoid back pain and injury, I always make sure to warm up, which prepares me for an intense glute day. I posted a short to warm up for glute focus day, so be sure to check that out. I do some hamstring curls to warm up my hamstrings because girlies rarely train hamstrings and quads, which is not good. When you want hypertrophy on the glute muscles, whatever glute move you do, there are muscles called synergists, which basically are the muscles that help you complete the movement. If you don't strengthen your hamstrings and quads, they're kind of like the weakest link. So your glute gains are basically at the mercy of the strength of your hamstrings and quads, which is not great. I totally understand the girlies who don't like big quads or big hamstrings. I totally get that. I used to think like that as well, because when I wear a mini skirt, I just don't like the big quad look. But still, we have to strengthen them. We have to train them. So strengthening the muscle is a little bit different than hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is gaining size, while strengthening is about making the muscle stronger and more resilient, not necessarily bigger. It's more about neuromuscular adaptation and endurance. Lightweight, 2 sets just as a warm-up, nothing too challenging. Now for the real game. On my first glute day, I focus on training the glute muscles in their shortened position. And on the second glute day, I'll focus on training them in a strengthened position, aka RDLs and all the fun stuff. Always warm up with a lighter weight, make sure you nail the form down. When I'm about to do the real set, before lift off, I always remind myself of a checklist. Are my feet firmly planted on the ground? Is my core tight? And is my back supported at the right position, which is just under my scapula? This checklist makes sure I'm locked in for the move, and because the weight I'm using are pretty heavy, you want to avoid injuries by having the perfect. Next, we're doing a single leg Bulgarian split squats. This is a really effective and efficient move for glute girls, and at the same time, it addresses any potential muscle imbalances. I read someone say that if your knee is closer to your chest, you're achieving a deeper range of motion and effectively training the glutes. So always make sure your range of motion is good. Next, we're doing cable kickbacks. This is also a staple in my training. For the girlies who always feel like they're working the non-working leg more, I have this trick for you. Grab a foam roller and place it against a solid surface that won't move, and the other end against the stabilizing leg. When you do the move, this is such a golden nugget because you can instantly feel that your core and your body is stabilized, which allows you to use the muscle you actually want to work. Try it and thank me later. Coming in on day 3, which is my back day, and if any of you are also just motivated by a cute outfit, one of my favorite colors is yellow, and I'm wearing this set. I just feel like my whole day is brightened. Well, anyways, today we're doing back. Regardless of which upper body day I'm having, I always make sure to train my scapula because I find it so effective in combating shoulder pain and shoulder impingement. I'm doing cable back pull downs to warm up my upper back and let them know it's time to work. Then I add weights and focus on lengthening the muscles to the maximum, then pulling from the elbows. Your elbows should not move at all. Then we start with the unilateral movements. This is a very good move for your upper back. You can set up the pulley in front of you or lower than your body and focus on pulling with your lats. I always feel them the most when I'm doing this, which is why it's one of my staples. One thing to note is that you don't need to turn your wrist from a neutral grip to an overhand grip. Some people thought it would be more effective and feeling the lats, but in reality it's just unnecessary. Just use a neutral grip, extend your lat to the maximum, and then pull back. Then I have a cable lateral raises. Here also focusing on extending the muscles to the maximum, then out to the side with your elbows. You're not able to use a lot of weight. That's so normal. Here I'm just using a 5 kg, which is like 10 pounds, the minimum on the cable machine. Moving on to a rope face pull. Think pulling towards your face and really slow down on the movement. It's not about how many reps you can do, but the time you can hold under tension. That's what challenges your muscles and make them grow. I see a lot of people doing this move and they end up just jerking the weight with their body instead of using the rear delts and back muscles. I suggest sitting on a bench or sitting on the floor to stabilize yourself. When your body is stabilized, you dedicate more energy to actually using the muscles you want to train. Moving on to day 4, which is my second glute day. Today we're focusing on lengthening the glute muscles. First off, I make sure to warm up early, then a quick hamstring curl to prep the body. And now move on to the real stuff, the RDL. Again, you want to just use the bar to nail down the form first and then add the weights. In my other glute day workout video, I shared this tip in order to feel your glutes instead of feeling your back or your hamstrings. When you go down, imagine you have a yoga block between your legs and you're pressing your knees against this yoga block so hard that it doesn't fall down. Also, it's helpful that before lift off, do a mental checklist on what to focus on. For me, I always remind myself, chest up, embrace the core, tighten the pelvic floor, feet planted on the ground as if there are bugs under my feet and I have to firmly press not to let them escape. A lot of people ask whether it's necessary to wear a belt when doing heavy weights. It helps you further tighten your core. And also, if you have chronic back pain from sitting too much in front of a desk, whether upper or lower back, you can actually place the belt in that area to help a bit. However, I do challenge myself to go a little heavier day by day without the belt, because a belt is something that your body can rely on, and I don't want to rely on it. So I try to lift heavier without the belt progressively so my core strengthens over time. Then we move on to doing some heavy squats. Personally, I prefer Bulgarian split squats, but I haven't done traditional squats in a long time, so I want to challenge myself with heavy weights. Then onto Bulgarian split squats. I just love doing them. I know it's a torture at first, but once you get over it and start seeing real results because of it, you're just gonna be obsessed. Next, some back extensions. The key here is to place the pad lower than your pelvis, focus on rounding your back, and tighten your glute muscles on the way up. The range of motion on this one is not that big, so don't worry if you feel like it's not a lot. The key is just to feel your glute muscles working and helping you move your body up. Well, there you have it, my full week of workouts. This is typically what I do during a week. Let's be realistic. Not everybody has the time and energy to do a 6 or 7 day workout split. What's important is the effort you actually put in when you're physically in the gym. As long as you're giving 100% and you're really challenging yourself, challenge your muscles with a progressive overload and time under tension, you will see results. It's not that complicated. Hit me up if you have any questions. Until next time, bye.